All right, good morning, everyone. The month of Cheshvan, the sponsor of the month of Cheshvan, Moshe and Ivo Kesselman, B'schus all the Chayalim, protecting Am Yisrael. This week is sponsored in memory of Samuel Frankiel Zal, beloved husband of Simone, and father of Sarah Fishman. Today, the daily sponsorship is by Shira Talber in memory of Adina Miriam, Bat Aryeh Ve'Yocheved. Shira here? Shira. Who is this? His family? Okay. Okay, so again, Yashar Koach to anyone that's coming out. And it gives more than we understand. And in our attempt to continue to stay, focused as much as possible, as much as Hashem allows us, and it should just be a shefa of rachmim on all of us right now, as we're speaking, as we're breathing, as we're learning, that each of us is coming up to a new stage in our life that Pashut Mod never was before and never could have been planned like this before. Alt mitzidenu. This is a new era in our lives, and we're entering in it bechilu re'ada, bepachad be'ema, and with bitachon, and most importantly, be'ahava. Somehow be'ahava. I have to share with you an amazing thing. And I think this is it's amazing that I got so inspired. This is one of the most shocking things. I got so inspired by something that happened in the Knesset yesterday. I've never said those words before. I'll say something amazing. There's a minister, no, she's a former. I think she gave up her position because the mitzvah that we're in. She has a funny last name, hyphenated last name. Her first name is Galit. Yeah, Galit. Thank you, Galit Distal Avraham. I have to share with you just because of that. It's a new stage. This is a new world. It's a new era we're living in. So she had said that, and she said this from the bima of the Knesset, that she was watching the Hafrashas Chala, that the mother of the Chayla that we got back did Hafrashas Chala a few days before their daughter was returned. I'm sure you all saw that footage of her. So she said all of Am Yisrael was watching it, and she said that she noticed something when the mother was doing Hafrashas Chala, that she stopped in the middle of the nusach that she was saying, and she said the words, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Ani ohevet otcha. And this Chavrat Knesset, she stopped, she said, V'ani atzarti, like she just said, she realized, she was trying to understand what she was feeling. She said, Kineti ba. I was jealous. I was jealous of her, that a mother, while her daughter is kidnapped by the hands of monsters that this world has never seen before, can say, Hashem, I love you. And she drew so much strength from that statement, from that ability, from that woman to say, that mother to say such words at that moment. And she said that in Knesset Yisrael. I was shaking. I myself much just so humbled, and I feel like it's all putting everything in the place of where the chiyut of the Am is going towards, and it's all right now berachmi v'ratzon and the chesed and the bischut of our holy tzaddikim and tzaddikot on the front lines that are. They're displaying gvura. There's what they call arafel. What's it called? Arafel tikshorti. There's social media fog regarding what's going on right now. There's that, and that's how it should be. But one thing we know for sure is that there's a gvura. There's this world of gvura like never before, and we're always saying that if they're doing that on that front, we have to do that on our front with our avodat hanefesh, with the soul work that you used to see maybe a little bit as an option or a luxury. And it's so clear today that it's completely our war. It is our war right now. And like I mentioned in Sunday morning's shir, that ended up being exactly like what, even though we went back to Rav Sasson's book, but we realized wait a second, learning Pnimius right now is not like, a Band-Aid, or it's not, okay, we have to go back to our weekly broadcasting. It is the generation's broadcasting, and it's happening now. And since there's never been more love between our Am that we're experiencing right now, it's time to take advantage of when there's that much love, what happens to the other things, the other opportunities that we have to do the work on Pnimius and Nefesh that we can do right now. So there's a piece here from Rav Kluger, from the Sefer, that we're going to be continue to learning from throughout the year, Bezrat Hashem, that I wanted us to look at now. Even though throughout this learning, it may seem that it's words that are speaking about the individual, it is very much referring, it's the Am. It's totally the Am. It's the nation. It's the people, Bechlal. So just a few words of background on this piece, or Bechlal, on what we're going to be learning. Am Yisrael suffered such a yerida, such a blow. And many people are also, obviously remembering what happened right before this blow, is that Am Yisrael was stuck in some kind of a very confusing time of a yerida ruchanit. If there's that much machloket in the Am, then there's also a yerida ruchanit in the Am. There's a spiritual law, but I refrain from saying, look what happens when there's such a sinas chinam amongst people, because no one should ever give any esberim as to why there's so many shidduch houses right now. It's not time, it's not our place, and we're not neviim. And I tend not, my shit is that I stay away from saying, well, look what happened, and of course it's chas v'shalom. I know that there are a bunch of Amalekites that need to be destroyed that have been planning to kill Yidden for a long time. That's all I know, because that's what we have to work with in Olam Hazeh level. But Bichlal, Am Yisrael has suffered such a yerida, such a blow. And this hurts the nefesh of the prat, of the individual, and of course the klal, tremendously. And whenever there's this type of blow that happens, it takes a lot of gevura to look at it right now from the way that we're going to look at it. It takes a lot of gevura. It takes a lot of strength. I don't know if we're ready to even do it today, but I know that we for sure probably weren't ready the first few weeks. And now it's already going into a month soon. Right? Is it a month? Is this like the 4th? I don't remember. 7th. Yeah. We're going into the month. So zeh harbeh. So I think maybe it's only now that there's a possibility to start to begin to approach this type of work. Is that an extra page, this one? To approach this work, to only do it now. So Rav Kluger says like this. Dalko shel olam, you see the page, Lamed Aleph is the first page, right? Lamed Aleph. Dalko shel olam, she'adam mevakesh להסיר מעליו את הקושי ולהיפטר כבר ממנו. The way the world is that when there's a koshi, when there's a hardship, I just want to get rid of it. I just want to remove it from me. אך ישועת וגאולת הנפש בקרבתה לאלוקים אינה משקיטה את הקושי. But when it comes to the salvation and the redemption of the soul, in its closeness to God, it doesn't work like that. It does not silence the hardship. That's not when it comes to the real stuff in life, to the real breakthroughs, quieting down or just removing a hardship, I don't want to deal with this, it doesn't work like that when it comes to soul stuff. It's not the way, it's not the shita. Rather what? Ki'im memateket oto b'idiyat sodo v'tachlito. Rather, it sweetens the hardship when it gets to know its secret and its purpose. This is a key concept in the world of the Baal Shem Tov called hamtaka, sweetness, sweetening. It's an avoda of sweetening something. Like we referred to din, judgment, hamtakat dinim, that the judgments should become sweet. Rav Ginsburg teaches this all the time at the three levels: havdala, achna'a, havdala, hamtaka. Right, hachna'a. Well, we'll get there also one day. Hachna'a, havdala, hamtaka. This world of sweetening. Now you're saying, "Are you crazy? You're going to start talking about sweetening the matzav right now? How could you sweeten the matzav?" It's not the way that we're used to saying sweetening. Like sweetening usually has a reference to like a candy, right? So sweetening something. We're not speaking about that kind of sweetening over here. We're going to see what he means over here. Sharei kol nivra mukhan lesevel sheyesh lo tachlit. Every human being is prepared for a certain level of suffering if it has a purpose. Like ki giato leparnasa. Just like I know that work could be very difficult, could be hard, but I'm willing to tolerate it because I know what it brings. I know that it brings food in the fridge or clothes for my children or whatnot. I'm willing, I'm capable of that type of, suffering tolerance. V'chayotze b'zeh. בהיותו נכון לשאת כל משבר וחבלי צער המביאים אחריהם את לידת פריים. And this is true regarding any type of crisis or any type of חבלי צער. The birth pangs of it's called birth because there's going to be a birth. There will be something. As Rabbi Levi Yitzchak Berditchever always says, and we say this throughout the year, his teaching is on the kinot on Tisha B'Av, Eli Tzion v'area kmo isha b'tzireya, that Yerushalayim and its cities and all of us is like a woman that knows that she's in labor, but she knows what's going to happen. B'shat tova b'ezrat Hashem. She knows there will be a birth, there will be fruit coming, because if you interview a woman as she's in that last stage of giving birth and tell her, what do you have to say about this pain right now, right? I mean, obviously. I'm not advising that. I'm just saying if there was some kind of mitzvah that you would go to someone that you see is screaming and in such pain and say, what explain this right now? So the level of explaining is impossible because in the mind of the person that's tolerating this, there's an etz that's about to come into the world. There's a neshama that's about to come into the body that's then going to be the first generation of thousands and thousands of other neshamas that are going to come down into the world. But that's when I know that there's a fruit that's going to be, that eventually will come out of this process.
It's like the opposite of Avodas Zarah.
Very good. In Egypt, it was exactly the opposite. It was this concept of the labor was l'shem nothing, was nothing. That was the mind torture that it was. It was l'shem nothing. כמו כן, כאשר יהודי מבין את תכלית הקושי ושזה סדר הבריאה, but when a Jew understands the purpose of why it's something so hard, and that this is the order of creation, נעשה מוכן בנפשו לשאת את החיים באופן שמנהיגם השם יתברך. Then I become ready to, this is a very interesting phrase here, לשאת את החיים. לשאת את החיים, what's that?
Just to stand it, not to...
Yeah. But it could also mean to lift up, like to lift up and carry life with all of its baggage. In a way that Hashem is running the show. In a way that Hashem is running the show. Zot omeret. And this is part of the whole awakening that we're going through. Is that we were under the assumption that we really understand why we made a lot of the choices that we've made in life. And that we're willing to tolerate certain difficulties. But now, the concept of what we're tolerating or I don't like the word tolerate because it's not really mechaven to what I'm saying. But the reason we're willing to even suffer what we're suffering, it really is that. The reason why we're willing to suffering what we're suffering right now can only really be in harmony with us if we lift ourselves now to a place where we can't ignore the hardships. We can't ignore them. We can't brush things under the table anymore. Just like we can't brush under the table anymore that we've we've made the most dangerous decisions with Amalek. You can't brush that under the table anymore. Hopefully, b'chasdei Hashem, with our own, in the schus of our own avodah pnimit, those that are making decisions will allow for the wiping out of Amalek fully from Eretz HaKodesh. And it's not just down there. It's about 30 seconds behind us, not to make anyone, but it's right here. You can't, once you're connected in your heart of hearts to saying, okay, Hashem, you're running the world. I'm not brushing things under the table anymore. I'm not just sweeping things away anymore. I'm ready to look at it eye to eye because it's already looking at me in my eye. I may as well look at it as well. Then that's when what he will call the concept of hamtaka takes place. Then the sweetening of judgment, the sweetening of harsh reality takes place. And I'm not saying we're anywhere close there, but at least if that's my kivun, if that's my kavana, with how I want to continue living my life, then I know I'm ready for anything. And that's true about any hardship in the world, right? We could speak about it from the smallest hardships to the largest hardship. It's true about anything. When I'm really ready to look something in the eye, at that moment, my ability to function and my arsenal of weapons changes. When I choose to remain blind to it, en ma lasot, I could keep on kidding myself, but it doesn't go anywhere. Yeah.
Maybe you'll get to it, but it sounds like it's not just a mindset; it's also a responsibility. Like I had a nechama, I was just driving to Tehillim, and I was like, "How am I saying Tehillim?" And it just hurts so much, and I realized, okay, we're the chosen nation to fight evil.
Mm-hmm.
Like we are here, we are chosen to we have the opportunity now to rid evil
from
Eretz Israel.
Mm-hmm.
And that gave me a feeling of purpose. Yeah, the whole
exactly.
concept of purpose.
That's the word he says. Yeah.
But then you just brought it into the government officials, and we have an obligation. Is it okay to just stop at the good feeling? Obviously we're doing mitzvah, we're learning Torah, but I'm saying in order for this to become a reality, do we need to be on the front lines of really ourselves ridding the evil? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Sounds like more of a
yeah.
heavier.
No, I have a very deep answer for you. I think. Yes. Yeah. So let's continue. No, Jenny has a way of basically just always say, it's that place of I don't want to go there, but do I have to go? And you're just saying it, and it's yes. And this Beis Midrash is hopefully the Beis Midrash of how. The Torah, I want to, every shir that happens in this shul is basically answering the question of how. I hope, I pray. And he it's amazing how he continues this. He says, "Etzot he'ira Torah pnimiyut biyoter." This is what pnimiyus Torah is all about. This is what pnimiyus Torah is all about. Shegalei yam ha'chayim ha'olim ma'ala v'nishbarim v'yordim tamid. That all the waves of life, where you go up and then you eventually crash, einam sevel be'alma. These are not just like Adina you were referring to, like the avodat parech type of work. It's not sevel be'alma. That means suffering for nothing. Asher yeshli pater u'leirapeh mimeno, that we just have to stop and get rid of. Ela sod u'seder habriya kach. But when you look at life, you understand this was the order of creation. This is how Hashem created the world. Shelifnei kol aliyah nitzrechet yerida. That before any type of ascent, there's always a descent. What's the greatest example of this from the beginning of the Torah? Vayhi erev, vayhi voker. That's the order of creation. It doesn't say vayhi voker, vayhi erev. The way that our day even starts is that in our Zman, in our calendar, the days start at night because of the way that God created the world. Vayhi erev, vayhi voker. What an erev Am Yisrael just had. What an erev. What a choshech Mitzrayim. What a choshech Mitzrayim. And for the families that are waiting for their chatufim to come home, it's not one day, it's not just that day of Simchas Torah, it's every second. Shelifnei kol aliyah nitzrechet yerida. And here he quotes Reb Chaim Chernovitzer. Reb Chaim Chernovitzer is the author of two very important sfarim that we have, Be'er Mayim Chaim and Siduro Shel Shabbat. Just a little bit of context. Reb Chaim of Chernovitz was the Talmud of Rebbe Chiel Mechel of Zlotchov, the Zlotchover Rebbe, who was a Talmud of the Baal Shem Tov. So just to give you timeline. V'hu dimyon echad harotze lizrok davar lemala. Imagine someone wants to throw something up from the ground. Something on the floor, you want to throw it up. Or it's also a good example of this is when you want to jump, okay? אז משפיל עצמו ומשפיל ידו למטה, לזרוק אחר כך בכוח גדול את הדבר למעלה. Any of you can imagine right now a pitcher in baseball, right? What's a pitcher, right? When he's about to throw a pitch, where does he first go? He always goes back. If someone wants to jump high, what do you have to do? You have to bend your knees. These are very clear things. And it's almost like, if you need to go higher, but you're not willing to bend, Hashem bends you. וכן, אדם השלם, כשבא לפעמים לבחינת החור ונופל ממדרגתו, so to a person's working so hard on themselves, that sometimes comes to a place where they fall. אז הוא בא על ידי זה לבחינת קדם קדמתה לעלות מעלה מעלה. And what he's basically connecting himself is to the creation of the world, the way that Hashem created the world. But if I don't live in God consciousness, if I don't live with Hashem awareness in my life, what happens to me when I'm in the Yerida? I identify myself that this is me, this is who I am a failure, I am doomed for darkness, this is my lot in life, this is my goral. And I don't stop and think for a second, but wait a second. The way Hashem created the world, it's the Bria, it's the way God created the world. It's the way Hashem created the world. וכזה אומרים בשם בעל שם טוב זכות יגן עלינו, שיהיה יקר וחשוב בעיניכם השכחה והנפילה ממדרגתכם קצת. There's a statement from the Baal Shem Tov that says, it should be precious and valuable in your eyes sometimes, forgetfulness and falling from the level that you're on. It should be precious for you. This is what Rabbi Nachman refers to throughout Likutei Moharan as being baki beratzo vashov. A person has to learn, and Chana Sarah's husband, Alav Shalom, used to sing this more beautiful than anyone in the world. A person has to learn three things in this world. You have to learn how to walk, you have to learn how to fall, and you have to learn how to get up. But if I am not busy learning how to fall while I'm falling, I will never learn how to get up there. So the Baal Shem Tov is saying, it should be precious to you. The concept of forgetting something sometimes, the concept of falling. Because of where you're about to ascend to. These are all beautiful chizuk words, but the truth is like this, and it goes back to what Jenny was bringing up before. Are we as a community, just right now, just us here, because we can't speak in the name of the whole world, are we willing to say out loud that we understand that we must enter a new level of reality, a new world? Are we willing to say that? Are we willing to say that our struggle right now is not l'shem getting through it, but it's l'shem entering a new domain, a new world? Because the chayalim are. They are. Any chayal that's going out to Krav right now, that's where their head is. We're going in to create a new world. Are we now at the place where we're at in our lives to say, and we are too? What does it look like exactly? I'm not sure. Just like the chayal doesn't know. But are we willing to? Yes. Why? Because Hashem says, Asher Ar'eka. If you go, I'll show it to you. But if you go and check every second, is this it will never work. The sod of Eretz Yisrael is not knowing exactly what it's going to look like. The sod of Pnimius, of working on ourselves, is not knowing exactly what it's going to be and what will be offered and who will I be, and we don't know this. But what's for sure is that it seems to me, and it seems to most of us, I think, that now every level of Avodat Hashem, every level of my religious experience, of my observance, conscious-wise, must ascend to a world that I wasn't in before. And I don't know exactly what that looks like, but nor does anyone when it comes to what really matters in life. example, the best one, like we just said. And we spoke about this in Shul last Friday night. This is what it was. This is how Avraham Avinu inherited the land. We want to inherit this land. We don't know exactly. What we do know, we do know exactly what it's not and what it can't be. That we've learned in the most horrific ways. That we know. Like the person that says, finds a kid walking and he doesn't know what way to go. And the famous mashal, it's like, well, what's the right way? It's like, well, I can't tell you what the right way is, but I could definitely tell you what the wrong way is. So that we know. That we know. And anyone that's holding on to claiming that way is still the way is michutz lamachaneh. It's not part of Machaneh Yisrael. It's not something that is part of the sicha even. It's lo kashur elenu. It's lo kashur. It's very mayumim. It's not part of the conversation anymore. Okay, turn the page over. I want to skip on the brackets over here. And he continues over here, and he says like this: Kol hadorech al miftan divrei ha'ari hakadosh. So anyone that steps foot on the doorstep of the words of the Arizal, his words, anyone that dabbles into the world of the Torah of the Arizal, yodea umakir et hayesod hapashut, knows a very simple concept of learning. Anyone that's learned the Ari, now remember, in Torah Sapnimius, in the world of Pnimius Torah that we're learning, there's three main pillars, right? That's Reb Shimon Bar Yochai, the Zohar HaKadosh, and then the Arizal, and then the world of the Baal Shem Tov, right? So the way that Rav Weinberger once said it so beautifully is that the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai was the first one to tell us, there are much bigger worlds than what you and I see. He just let us know about that there's so much more going on than what you see in front of you. There's a whole world. There's worlds upon worlds that we're not even aware of. It's much bigger. Okay, with life, existence, relationship with Hashem, it's so much bigger than what we see in front of us. That was the Reb Shimon Bar Yochai. The Arizal was the one that started drawing maps of explaining to us like what those worlds look like. And then he said the Baal Shem Tov says, okay, now hold my hand. And let's go inside these worlds. Let's go travel these worlds together. But you have to hold my hand. Zaidi. You have to hold my hand. And what we're trying to always work from, in our learning is to basically do exactly that in the way that our tzaddikim have prepared for us. But the Arizal, this middle level over here, the Arizal was very clear. He gave a lot of basic terminology upon which obviously the whole world of the Baal Shem, not just the world of the Baal Shem Tov, but mainly the Baal Shem Tov's world of learning comes in yonek and it suckles life force from there. Now one of the things the Arizal would speak about is the following concept. כל הדורך על מפתן דברי הארי הקדוש יודע ומכיר את היסוד הפשוט אשר הפירוד הוא התנאי הקודם לכל התאחדות. In order for there to be achdut, what needs to first happen? Non-achdut. Right? Separation. So we look at it as if like, oh my God, we're in such a, there's so much pirud, there's so much separation, but that actually is the prerequisite for hitachdut to take place. And he obviously, and look over here, he continues over here, v'nikret tardema, or nesira, or katnut. He has three different terms to express this level of pirud. One is called tardema. What is tardema? Coma. Nesira. What's nesira? Sawing, right? Like a masor is called, right? Sawing off. Or just katnut, just smallness. Kvi she'Hashem yitbarach hepil al ha'adam harishon tardema. God put the first man into a shluf, or a coma, kedei lenaser, in order to saw off achat mitzalotav, one of his ribs, velivnota le'ezer kenegdo, in order to build for him an ezer kenegdo. Bepirud u'betardema, so in a state of being separated and in comatose, hukmalo haisha sheteheh lekorat rucho. His man's wife was created for him to basically bring to the echad, to make one again. But where did it come from? From in what state did it come? What's that? Right. Why? Lama?
Because otherwise it's just one.
But Hashem could have just brought down two together.
They're already separated.
So they yearn for each other half the time.
So it first had to be from the same place. Then there had to be removal from within the same place. Because just like us, we're all one.
It's like a rubber band, like you have to pull away in order for it to come back.
Nachon. But I'm just saying out there, Hashem could have created this concept in many different ways, but it wouldn't have the learning that we're doing from it. You wouldn't be able to say like what Achdus is or the point of coming together. What's that? You wouldn't. People always ask, like, if there was no death, would you obviously, would you have any value for life? Right. Like Adam Arishon lived for a few hours before they. You notice I'm saying they and not her. Before they brought death in the world by eating from the apple, right? Nachon. These are very interesting things, but we have to look at the Bria of the world. This is how God created the world. This is how Hashem created the world. That she was kiviyachol from him, but in order to then really do in this world, to do the job of peace and harmony and of achdut and all the different things that we yearn for, then you had to have this concept of nesirah in a state of tardema to bring the pirud now to be face to face with each other and then reunify and become one. That's how Hashem created the world. So he continues and he says like this, Keyotze b'zeh, kol pirud b'chol darga shehi, any type of separation on any level that it is, noad kidei liot hachana ledarga yoter gvoa haba acharav, is only a preparation for something bigger that needs to be afterwards. Vayi erev vayi voker. So I want to say like this, and this is my thoughts the last few days. I was certain, I think some of us were certain as well, that after Corona, we'd be in a different world. And we weren't. It was the same exact world. There was not that, as far as I'm concerned, I was certain that shuls would realize Hashem took away the ability for us to be together and daven together, even to be in a shul. And then it started with all these numbers and all this machlokis, and we see now so much of it was such, whatever, I'm not getting started with that, but we see I just basically thought that it was, Bemet, the world we were going to go, the world we were going to come and go out to afterwards would be a completely different world. And it wasn't. But do we remember what our lives were like those first few weeks when some of us really thought that this is maybe the end of the world, or that this is going to be the rest of our life is going to be like this? There were these thoughts by many, many, many people. It was a yerida me'en kamoa. But what was the post-yerida? What was the aliyah after the yerida? Remind me, maybe I'm not trying to be pessimistic, I'm just looking at the last few years. Just because we were talking this and we were looking at our son. He's 2.5, he's going to be 3, Bezrat Hashem in Shvat, right? This is a baby, I hate the term corona baby, but he was a baby born into that world with the weirdest bris and shalom zachar, and the first few months of his life, I don't remember exactly when at what point in it, but it was like we couldn't have anyone at the bris, and then okay, so then that passes. Now he's 2, and now he's in this war. It's like, Mako, what kind of his first 3 years in this world are insane, are crazy. But these same few years are also in our lives as well. We're also in it. But somehow it seems now that, to go back to what Jenny said, I think that it's safe to say that there is no luxury to not now really, really, really be determined that the world that we're going to meet after, this is a olam acher legamri. But it's on us. It's on us to create it. It's on us, there's something called Kabbalah al-Habal. It's the last step of tshuva that the Rambam lists in the 4 criteria to do tshuva. And that is basically that there's an acceptance upon ourselves that I will never go back to what was. I accept upon myself that I'm never going back to what was. And this tkufa right now is a tkufa of Kabbalah. Like, can we really say, I accept upon myself that I will do everything in my power to never ever have an opinion about another Jew based on their thoughts or their opinions that don't sound like mine, right? That's a very, very deep avoda, but that's I think the tzav hashah, that I could actually say, even if a person, and this is so hard for me right now because I'm right now in such this difficult place with one of my former Jewish history no, he wasn't Jewish history, regular history teachers from high school, who was mamish removed himself from Machane Yisrael. He's talking, he considers himself to be Machane Ha'olam. Always pointing out that a real Jew has to feel the pain of, Jewish babies and Ishmaeli babies that are getting injured in this war. That's not the Jewish heart. It's not true also. That's not, if that's how we go about our life, then we may as well really have gone to Uganda or Mamash. But so even him, but he's a Yid, he's a Yid. So I could be so against what he thinks is the right thing, but to still mamish love him in my heart, it's deep avoda, and it's not, and it's easier though when we're in the machane here, like when we're in Eretz Yisrael, going through what we're going through. It's a different ballgame, and we already noticed we can't explain this to other people. But what is the world going to look like when we're done? Don't ask that question. Ask the question, what is my world looking like now? Now. All the things you think about what will be, that's not the question. The question is, how am I already making that a metzius now in my life? Because that's the question everyone's wondering, like, what's going to be when this is... Zela Sheila is, who am I today? What is my day looking like today? Where is my heart now, in this moment? And then you realize that aliyah that happens after the nefila is already taking place. Big time. Through blood, sweat, and tears, literally. But it is already happening, it's already taking place. Esti, just share with them what's going on this week.
I think that Misrad HaBitachon has to have a new takziv, a new budget for not only for neshek, but also for tefillin, because it seems that every single soldier on the front and not on the front wants tefillin. We're getting 100 calls an hour from chayalim that want tefillin. Like there aren't any more tefillin anymore to give. And many of them write messages that say, I never put on tefillin in my life, I never thought I would, and I must have them now. It's like this keeps on happening, like every third message is like that. So we are awake and alive.
And that's not about, see, that is not what will be after. That is now. That's now. The after is already now. We're already in the world of what's going to be after. The question of how is it going to last is not a good, it's a very like, it's like an Amalek question. It's like darts into the light. Mamash. You want to say something?
That every second is an after.
Mamash. Mamash.
And also it's like, okay, so our responsibility is find tefillin, to get people in America, to get them on a plane. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't just stop at that's great, wow. It's like, so is our obligation then to answer all these calls? Like, you're a teacher. You're supposed to just love him in your heart and daven for him to wake up out of this cold.
I tried. I tried.
Try to do hasbara and convince him. Like,
once you realize that there are certain things that are impossible to convey to someone that's not here, all it leads to is frustration and I think sinas chinam. Yeah, and then you have to stop. So I stopped. Earlier this week, I left my voice note. I said, I realized something. In order for me to really hold on to love for you, I have to stop this right now. I can't continue this. And one day, you'll understand how hurtful. That's what I said to him. You are to the mothers of chayalim that are in my shul by thinking that you're expressing something all peace and loving. Because there has to be clear. Like this is we're b'shem kol Yisrael right now.
Then we got for them to wake up out of their coma.
We could, but I'm less worried about them. I'm worried about the avoda pnimiyus hanefesh is not how do we become so deep that we know how to daven over other people. It's much more an internal process of saying, Efo ani, where am I right now? Because I've experienced a tremendous yerida as an individual. I have. Mamash, I have. Each of us has felt that. And that yerida, we have to remember, and I was so blown away, like there was a 12-year, I don't know how old he was, a kid came to see me yesterday. And it was a kid that's like very hard on himself, even though he's a very good kid. And the parents are worried that he has too much self-persecution. And it was an amazing, 20 minutes, half hour of understanding what the point of a yerida is and what the point of an aliyah, and how do I take advantage of the moments in life that I'm experiencing a nefila, falling down. So that's avod, and that's what I'm thinking about right now. It's not about them, it's about us, because there was a blow. And there's also already aliyot, kmo shelo hayu af pam. And the avodah of the nefesh is to be in sync with the seder habriya. That's his point over here. It's to be in sync with the seder habriya of Vayer Vayivoker, and also the way that God created Chava, created Adam and Chava.
I think one of the things that stops us from looking at that way is fear.
Yeah, fear is what stops us from looking at it. Fear of what?
Fear, first of all, that we're still in the edit.
Right.
And that we're going to have more blows.
Right.
Fear for our,
Right.
so many cousins and neighbors that are fighting there, and we don't know every day we're getting terrible news, and you're so scared that you can't think about the vote.
But I think that part of it is also that we have such fear, and like we said on Sunday, we have such fear of the Asher Ar'eka as well, because we don't know what it looks like. We don't know what the a shefa of light that awaits us right around this Masach HaMavdil also looks like. And that fear does that same avoda of stopping us from being alive, of being present, of being conscious, of living a Seder HaBriya kind of life. It stops us. But did anyone ever know what's going to happen a second after it happened? Remember the teaching from Rav Ginsburg, such an important teaching. We haven't said it in a while. Ein simcha katarat asfekot. Remember, there's no such a simcha like the removal of doubt. That's what it usually says, right? The pnimius of that statement is there's the greatest joy in the world is when you matir yourself to live in the world of sfekot. Sfekot, doubt. En simcha, the greatest simcha is kehatarat hasfekot, when you allow yourself to live in the world of safek. In other words, what does that basically mean? When you accept to live in the world that Hashem created. That's the greatest joy in the world. Paradox is not the word we're looking for. It's true, but over here, it's the point is that I don't know what's going to be, but I never did either. Like I.
An illusion that we did.
Right.
We don't even know if we're going to wake up in the morning.
We have no idea. It was an ashlaya. What do we know? I don't know what's going to be today, but I'm under the illusion that I am now. Hashem came and showed us, guys, you have no idea. You never did, and you never will. That's not the game in this world. Is not to figure out to crack a code. Because I could remove my hashgacha in 1 second. Right? I could remove my hashgacha in 1 second. The whole avoda is that after you fall, what is about to happen afterwards? That is what is happening right now, but really what's going to happen afterwards, you still don't know, but you can align yourself to live a life, a different type of way, a different way of living that aligns with the order of creation, with the kind of what we're trying to speak about right now. And that's for everyone. This is the way it's always been, and this is the way it always will be. I don't know, maybe even after Mashiach comes, I don't know, like this concept of Vayerev, Vayivoker. I don't know what Erev will be. It'll be different. But it doesn't matter either. It'll be a different way of experiencing life bichlal. But for right now, I could bring so much into my right now, into my world right now. I have to. But the point to remember over here is like this, is that this is, and he continues, I have to end here because I have to go somewhere, but the continuation of this of this piece over here shows us, I'm just going to read it a little bit fast, because it's not so difficult. Falling is not just those of like lower people fall. Like I was talking with this kid yesterday. It's not just like, the weak ones fall. Everyone falls. כל הצדיקים כולם מתנהגים כך, עולים ויורדים בו. היינו שיש להם ירידה, והירידה הוא צורך עלייה, says the דגל מחנה אפרים. What lashon is that from? The עולים ויורדים בו? סולם יעקב, הר הבית, בית המקדש. וזהו שנאמר הכתוב, אחיו הקטון יגדל ממנו דייקה. היינו מין בחינת מנשה, שהוא קטנות עולה למדרגה יותר גדולה ממה שהיה כבר. It's basically when Yosef came and brought his two sons, Ephraim and Menashe, and where Yaakov Avinu then switches his hands, and he puts the right hand on the younger one, and his left hand on the older one, and Yosef's like, no, and Yaakov Avinu says, no, he's actually gonna grow from him. From what? Neshiyah. Nashani means smallness. It means katnut. He's going to grow from katnut. וזהו יקבצו ושמעו בני יעקב. היינו, כשאתם במדרגה קטנות ועקל ושפלות, right, the Torah says, come gather together the sons of Yaakov, meaning when you're on the level of Yaakov. What's Yaakov? The heel. When you're in that place, then you can v'shim'u. היינו שתבינו זה שהוא כדי ושמעו אל ישראל אביכם. You can start to listen again in order to hear what your Abba is telling you. היינו, שעל ידי מדרגה תחתונות תוכל לבוא למדרגות יותר גדולה והמשכיל יבין. We're all in Akev. We've been in an Akev. Maybe we thought we were on a high level. Comes Simchas Torah, it shows us all the ashlayot. You're just you're still in an Akev. You're in a heel. But if you come together, hikaptzu v'shim'u b'nei Yaakov. If the lines, if the tefillin and tzitzis bakashot and afrashas chala bakashot and all these things keep on happening non-stop, shim'u, if you come together, hikaptzu, you can, and in the hurt, in the low place, in the place of the heel, which is where we're at, but it's together. And you do a hikaptzu, a gathering together. Then you could also lishma what tomorrow can be like. Who didn't cry when they watched the picture of the Hasidim dancing around Kiryat Gat a few hours after word got out that this chayelet came home? This is hikaptzu v'shimu b'nei Yaakov. V'lo zo bilvad. Next paragraph. Ela noda mima shekatuv b'chol hasfarim hakadoshim. This everyone knows. על דבר שיהודי נשתלח לעולם כדי להעלות ולרומם מצבים נחותים ושפלים. Every Jew was sent to the world not just to party when everything is dandy, but mainly in order to elevate situations that seem impossible. ולהאיר גם בהם את השם יתברך, and to enlighten those moments with the glory of Hashem. As Reb Mendel Vitebsk says over here, שאי אפשר לקבל חיותו יתברך כי אם ברצון השוב. There is no other way of being a vessel to receive Hashem's light in this world unless there's a yerida and then an aliyah. It doesn't work any other way. לכן ירידה צורך עלייה היא, וכל הדברים צריכים להתעלות והכל מאיתו יתברך וחיותו המחיה את כולם. And everything's from Hashem. Everything needs to be elevated. Yediazo. So he ends over here. Rav Kluger says like this, knowing this for real. And I bless us to feel this. Asher yesh pesher lamachov lasevel. That there is a purpose. There is a purpose for the pain and the suffering. And I hate to say it, but I have to because I feel responsible. The purpose for the suffering and the pain is not to appreciate what we had. What we had was 75 years of a matnat chinam of Hashem saying, this was cute, get your acts together. יש תכלית לכל מצבי הירידה בסוד הבירורים השייכים לכל אחד ואחד. There is a purpose to all forms of descent through the secret of בירורים. And it's not Beirut like an Ishbit, it's a little bit different here. Over here, it means basically discovering that how the Seder of the Bria of the world is happening right now in your life. Seeing that the way that Hashem created the world is actually what's happening right now in my life. Finding that, and then continuing on. Me'ira, when a person does this, Me'ira nocham balev, it shines a consolation in the heart, v'notenet koach, and gives strength. Zot mahuta, v'ze pirya shel Torat hapnimiyut. This is the essence, and this is the fruits when someone says they're learning pnimiyus HaTorah. Le'azriach geulat chayim hameira et hagalut haklalit v'hapratit. To shine a redemption of life which illuminates into the collective and personal galus. Like anyone that's talking, that's what I'm saying about what was. The whole notion of Yidden in Chutz La'aretz, there in galus, we're living in Geula. That's Simchas Torah is not living. It's not Geula, Chavra. The avoda of the nefesh, the personal avoda of each of our nefashot right now, can bring about coming out of galut. But collectively as an am, we're still very much there. That's not what they told us either before we made Aliyah. And we have to accept that. That's not the mitziyut. And even those that say Reshit Tzmichat Gulatenu, you have to focus on the concept of that it's Reshit, and it's a Tzmicha. But it's not, it wasn't, we didn't do it yet. Od lo asinu et zeh. You know, today's the yortzeit of someone that knew this very well and paid the worst price in the world of being completely shut down by the Jewish world and eventually murdered by Yishmaeli. Today's Rav Kahana's yortzeit. If you listen to almost anyone right now from the Am, they make Rav Kahana seem like a leftist. I'm not kidding. They make him seem like a peace activist. Ma shaya kvar lo yachol liot. It's a new world. It's a sod of berurim, and it has nothing to do with sin'ah. Like he always said, I don't hate Arabs. I love Jews. We today have every legitimate reason to say, I hate Arabs. Just watch 30 seconds of footage. Don't, but I'm saying if you, right? And yet we still don't say that. Because we're B'nai Or, we're people of light. Our menia, our motives, our dreams have nothing to do from hate. It comes from love, of loving Am Yisrael. And eventually having the luxury to worry about loving the whole world. This is the Seder of the Bria. This is what he said, that right now, the Gilui, what Torah Sapnimius does over here, is to shine light into worlds of Galus, an existence of Galus. And like he ends here, third to bottom line, Levi Aleph, Aleph is the Alufo Shel Olam, to bring Hashem, Betoch Gola, into Gola. Into the Gola, Vani Betoch Gola, like Yechezkel HaNavi says, into the exile. And then when you put an Aleph in the word Gola, you have Geula. Lekarev et hanefesh el or Hashem. ובזה יימצא לה כדי גאולתה, כי אין לנפשו של יהודי גאולה אחרת, זולת קרבתה להשם יתברך. To bring close the nefesh of the light of Hashem. Because that's the only type of geula for a Jew. And this is again very much connected to what and everything we've been talking about, not just these last few weeks, but for a long time, is that for us, for the Jewish person to actually feel really safe in this world, the only way is bringing Hashem into the whole picture of Eretz Yisrael. And to daven so strongly that to be a channel, a vessel of carrying Hashem's name in such an expansive way, in such a larger way, in such a, I don't know what it looks like exactly, but to daven that after this current Yerida, and already during this, that the way that I'm speaking about you, Hashem, the way that I'm speaking about anything is not shallow, that I'm thinking bigger. I'm thinking with a bigger heart, with a larger heart, with so much more than whatever was before. And that is the way that Hashem created the world, that way of thinking of things seems to be only it comes after there is such torture, such pain, such a pressure cooker. And when we say that it should be the last time that something like that should cause us to think bigger, like that's a very, very, very deep tefillah. But it's dependent on us as to how big we're willing to go. Because Corona did nothing to us. Nothing. The question is, how large are we willing to grow? And Asher Ar'eka means you don't have to know exactly what that looks like. But you have to be willing to just walk with Hashem. How do you walk with Hashem? Finding your world through Seder HaBriya. That what I'm experiencing is the way that Hashem designed the world. You start to piece the pieces together like that, and suddenly you see that every aspect of your life is munhag, is being led by HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And this is the world of Pnimiyus HaTorah that is not a chiddush for us here. This is not like, oh, now we're starting to learn. We've always talked like this. It just seems like now we're actually starting to live it like this as well. We should be zocheh that all of our light should shine bright the paths of any darkness for any chayal that's going down any alleyway or anything, that our brightness, our commitment to being larger, bigger, smarter, deeper, wiser, is a shield and a torch of light to guide these giborim and giborot as they're wiping out a malak from this world. All right, shekach to everyone for